It always begins with something soft, almost tender, like a song that plays in the background of a room you don't realize you're in. The first notes of doubt never arrive as thunder, but as whispers, stray words that don't quite match the lips they come from, silences that last too long, a message that takes too many hours to arrive. You notice, though you tell yourself you shouldn't. You brush it away, saying they're busy, they're tired, they're distracted. Love trains us to be generous, to find excuses for the people we've given our hearts to. But generosity can be a mask for denial, and denial is where the story of being played always takes root. It's in the way their eyes shift when you ask a simple question. Not a guilty glance, not a trembling panic, just a flicker too quick to hide, a signal that the answer forming in their mouth is a crafted one. People who play at love learn the art of performance. They know how to lace their words with just enough sweetness to keep you leaning in, how to drop just enough truth to make the lies digestible. You start to feel it, though you cannot name it yet. Like a hand pulling a string somewhere inside your chest, a tension building quietly, waiting to snap. Then comes the distance. Not the kind that follows a fight or a busy week, but the kind that creeps into the spaces between your words. Their touch is there, but it doesn't hold the same weight. Their laughter is still warm, but it doesn't reach their eyes. They listen, but not fully. They nod, they hum, but their mind is somewhere else, with someone else. You catch them staring at their phone too long, typing too quickly, smiling at things you don't see. And when you ask, they tilt their head, wounded by your suspicion, turning the weight of guilt back on you. That is one of the oldest cheats of all, making the faithful feel foolish for doubting. The excuses begin to pile like cards stacked against you. Work ran late. A friend needed help. They fell asleep early. They forgot to call. Each one feels reasonable in the moment, and yet each one leaves a scar when you press them together. The patterns emerge slowly, like footsteps in sand. You start tracing them, though you wish you didn't. You tell yourself you are overthinking, but overthinking is often just another name for noticing. And yet, they will give you enough to hold on to. That is the cruel genius of a player. A sudden burst of affection when you're about to give up, a thoughtful gesture when you've begun to drift, a night where their arms feel so real you question all your suspicions. It isn't consistency that keeps you, it's the unpredictability. They make you hungry for the next sign of love, rationing it out like crumbs, ensuring you will keep following even as you lose yourself along the way. The truth, though, always finds cracks to seep through. You hear a name you weren't supposed to hear, see a photo that wasn't meant for your eyes, sense a rhythm in their stories that doesn't quite line up. And when it comes, it isn't dramatic, it isn't cinematic, it's quiet, devastating in its simplicity. You realize you were not loved, but managed. You were not cherished, but entertained. You were not chosen, but kept in place until something better, brighter, or easier appeared. The hardest part is not the betrayal itself, but the recognition of your own blindness. You replay the moments in your head, realizing the clues were there all along. The sudden showers of affection, the unexplained silences, the words that rang too perfect to be true. They weren't accidents, they were strategy, classic cheats, recycled through generations of liars and lovers who knew how to bend trust until it snapped. And when you finally walk away, there is no satisfaction in proving yourself right. There is only the hollow echo of what could have been, what you thought you had, what you wanted to believe in. Love, when it is real, doesn't require detective work. It doesn't leave you counting hours, decoding silences, or questioning your own reflection. That is the lesson, though it cuts deeper than you wish it did. You learn to see differently after that. The subtle lies no longer slip past you. The sudden disappearances no longer get the benefit of the doubt. You understand the way charm can be a costume, how passion can be rehearsed, how promises can be tools instead of truths. It is a painful wisdom, born not from books but from being played, from giving your all to someone who only gave you fragments. And yet, with time, you come to realize that the pain was also proof that your love had been real, even if theirs was not. Players borrow hearts, but they cannot own them. They cheat, but in the end, it is they who are left with emptiness, forever performing, never staying, never knowing the quiet strength of love that doesn't need tricks to survive. There is a strange cruelty in the way memory works when you've been played. You don't just remember the lies. You remember how you believed them, how you clung to them like lifelines. You remember the way you smiled at a text that was probably copied and pasted to someone else an hour before. You remember waiting at the corner of a cafe, rehearsing what you'd say when they arrived late again, only to forget every word the moment they touched your hand and looked at you like you were the only person in the world. It wasn't just their deception. It was your willingness to let yourself be deceived, because the truth felt so much colder than the illusion. You learn that players are not careless, at least not in the beginning. They are careful, meticulous, weaving attention and affection with a precision that feels intoxicating. They notice your favorite color, the way you drink your coffee, the song you hum absent-mindedly, and they feed it all back to you in moments designed to make you believe in fate. They craft the illusion of being seen, when in reality, they're simply studying you, the way a gambler studies his cards before making a move. And you fall, not because you are weak, but because you are human, and to be human is to hunger for recognition, for connection, for love. But the cheat always grows sloppy. That's the thing about pretending. It exhausts even the best of actors. The late replies become longer, the excuses more careless, the affection less convincing. Where once they spoke in paragraphs, now they answer with single words. Where once they held you tightly, now their arms feel like open doors. You begin to feel the distance before you can explain it, like a storm forming miles away, but already humming in the air. You notice the double life in the smallest details. A perfume you don't wear lingering on their clothes. A joke they laugh at that you've never heard before. A weekend trip with friends that never quite adds up. They insist you're imagining things, and maybe you start to believe it, because it's easier to be wrong than to admit you've been played. Doubt becomes a war inside you. One part of you screaming that something is wrong, the other begging you to hold on to the story you built together. And yet, the heart always knows before the mind admits it. You start to feel hollow in their presence, as though the warmth you once found there has been siphoned away. You look at them and realize you are loving a shadow, a performance that was never meant to last. You confront them, maybe once, maybe twice, but confrontation only feeds their script. They deny, they turn it on you, they cry, they promise, they swear. And for a while you believe again. You forgive. You start over. But every time you do, a part of you dies a little more, until the person staring back in the mirror no longer looks like the one who first fell in love. The end never feels like the end. It doesn't come with dramatic confessions or apologies that heal. It comes with silence. It comes with a text unanswered, a call ignored, a door that doesn't open. It comes with you realizing they have already left, even if their body is still in front of you. And when it finally breaks, when the truth comes out fully, it doesn't feel like the ground has opened. It feels like it had been crumbling all along, and now there is simply nothing left to stand on. In time, you carry the scars as lessons. You learn that real love doesn't make you beg for reassurance. It doesn't vanish when questioned. It doesn't force you to decode riddles or settle for crumbs. Real love stays. It shows up. It answers. It doesn't need cheats, because truth is enough. And though you may leave with wounds, you also leave with sharper eyes, a stronger spine, and a heart that knows the difference between being played and being loved. And then there are the nights, those long, restless nights when you lie awake staring at the ceiling, replaying everything in your mind. Every smile, every word, every time they held your hand. You rewind conversations like an old tape, listening for the cracks you missed, for the hesitation in their voice when they said, "I love you." You begin to wonder if they ever meant it at all, or if love was simply another trick in their deck of cheats. The worst part is that you'll never really know. They won't give you that closure, because admitting the truth would mean stepping out from behind the mask, and players live for the mask more than they ever live for the truth. You start to realize how love can be used as currency. They give you just enough to keep you invested, never too much, never too little. They ration affection the way a miser handles coins, carefully, strategically. And you, blinded by hope, take every drop as if it were water in a desert. That's the trick. They never love you fully, but they love you just enough to keep you from walking away. And in that space between what you deserve and what you receive, you learn the cruelest lesson, that sometimes it isn't hate that destroys you, but counterfeit love. When the truth finally comes, it doesn't shatter you all at once. It leaks in slowly. A careless slip of the tongue. A friend who looks at you with pity. A social media post you were never supposed to see. The puzzle pieces begin to fall into place, and suddenly the picture is so clear you wonder how you ever missed it. Rage mixes with grief, and grief mixes with shame. Not shame for loving, but shame for ignoring your own instincts, for silencing that inner voice that told you something wasn't right. You feel played, not just by them, but by yourself. And that is the wound that cuts deepest. Because even as you rage at their betrayal, you also rage at your own heart for being so willing, so open, so trusting. You promise yourself never again. Never again will you let someone in so easily. Never again will you mistake charm for devotion. Never again will you confuse attention with love. And yet, beneath the pain, there is something else, a flicker of resilience. Because as much as being played can break you, it also sharpens you. It teaches you to see with clearer eyes, to ask harder questions, to demand more than pretty words and half-kept promises. You learn that love is not about how high someone can lift you in fleeting moments, but about how steady they stand beside you when the days grow quiet and hard. In the end, the player loses more than you. They leave behind people who would have loved them wholly, people who would have stayed. They may win the game for a while, but they will never win peace, never win the kind of love that requires no performance, no tricks, no cheats. And you walk away scarred, yes, but also stronger. You walk away knowing the difference between being entertained and being cherished, between being played and being loved. Because love is not a gamble. Love is not a trick. Love is not a performance. Love is steady. Love is true. Love is real. And once you've been played, you'll never settle for anything less again.